Okay, hey everybody, Sarah Grillo here. So excited to have you all for our webinar about taking the pain out of getting your content through compliance. So the first thing is everybody stay on mute, but we would very much appreciate it if you have any questions, if you could just enter them into the group chat box that should be to the right of the screen. So can everybody see the chat box? Just somebody type me a message if you can. I just want to confirm that people can hear me. Somebody type me something.
Audio.
Okay. So great. Okay. Hi, Steve. So Steve, whoever that is, David Weingarten. Hi, everybody. Okay, good. So thanks, everybody. So before starting in, I just want to introduce myself. I am Sarah Grillo, financial writer. Many of you have seen my articles on Advisor Perspectives. Thank you all. I always appreciate every single view. You may not always agree with me. But today I am so honored to have RIA Compliance Concepts, and my co-host is Colin O'Brien. Colin, you in the house?
Yes, I am.
Hi, okay. So before we start in on the presentation though, in the spirit of compliance, I do have to read you this boring disclosure. I'm so sorry, I'm gonna try to get through as quickly as I can, but after all, this is a compliance webinar, so I have to practice what I preach. So this presentation is offered for educational purposes. It's not an engagement with Sarah Grillo or RIA Compliance Concepts. The information is provided without guarantee. We assume no responsibility for liability or errors or omissions. We strive to maintain accurate information. However, the info may be out of date. We are under no obligation to advise you of any changes to these statements. The information contained herein is general. If you need advice on an individual compliance matter, then please consult a specialist. You all know that disclosure, right? Similar to what you have on your things. Okay, so just want to discuss, first of all, the motivation for doing better with your compliance content. And the reason is that so often in advisor marketing, we see the advisor on the other side of the table as the compliance officer. So not only is this operationally inefficient, but it's also, from a compliance standpoint, probably hurting you more than you realize. And the reason is that when you have content that doesn't go well through compliance, many times it is symptomatic of genericism, vagueness, and jargon. And as you know, this only weakens the power of your content, okay? So in this webinar, I've got Colin, and by the way, Colin used to be actually a, okay? So he's actually a pretty fun guy despite that, but put compliance together with marketing, bibbity boppity boo, and yes, you should get something really splendid that is going to actually increase the power of your marketing. Colin's going to tell you what not to do, then I'm going to tell you what you should be doing, and it's going to be awesome. So take it away, Col.
Well, yes, the compliance seems to be over on the other side of the table from advertising, and honestly, it shouldn't be that. You guys we're all on the same team here. We're all trying to come up with a better way to mitigate the liabilities of non-compliance and convey an accurate message. Is it necessary? Yes, it is. There's several different rules, several different regulations, guidance updates, no action letters, comment periods that dictate your advertising compliance to what type of business model you have. And there's a lot of different things out there that an RIA or a BD or the hybrid model have to consider. And this is just scratching the surface. The main guidance for investment advisors, and a lot of the states have adopted these rules, promulgates from Section 206 of the Investment Advisors Act and the rules 206-4-1. There's a bunch of different guidance on different interpretations out there, such as 2014, which mainly deals with social media, or the classic Clover letter that also deals with performance reporting. there's several different rules out there and several different regulations that a lot of people have to get their hands around. If you're a broker dealer, you have to deal with FINRA advertising rules, Rule 2210, on whether you submit a piece of advertising before you use it, or a couple of days after you use it, or if you have to submit it at all. There's specific guidelines as far as that's concerned. And FINRA seems to be a little bit more stricter when it comes to advertising than what RIAs have to face. Now, the hybrid model is getting to be very, very popular nowadays. And sadly to say, you're subject to everybody. The state, the SEC, FINRA, your grandmother, whoever. So there's a lot of different examples out there. And I've seen over the years so many different things, and honestly, I could talk about this for hours and bore people to death. But I've seen several times where the advertisement will paint the investment advisor kind of into a corner. Say if you're saying that you're investing your portfolio into 80% small cap companies, and it's on a website, or if it's on a running ad on a newspaper or what have you. The say 2 years down the road, small cap companies don't seem to be in favor for you. Now, if you don't pull this advertisement down, which a lot of times people just forget about, you have misleading advertisement on your hands. That could be a problem as far as getting a customer complaint, or if you're going through a regulatory examination and the regulator picks this up, well, that's a serious violation right there. Another item that I've seen over the years is that you see newsletters, you see websites of these guys picking out stocks saying, hey, we bought this on March 13th, 2016, and now it's produced over 500% return, and look how much money we made for everybody there. Well, there's an exemption for authors and writers and publishers and newspapers, but sadly to say, investment advisors don't have that, and cherry picking your returns, that's been interpreted as a fraudulent activity. And another thing, and I think we're really the only industry out there that prohibits this, you can't use testimonials. Testimonials are forbidden. There's several different items. If you're like on Yelp and if there's somebody on Yelp that comments on you, you don't have control over that, and that's okay. But if you have it on your website or your social media site saying, my advisor is the best advisor ever, or he has the most profitable portfolios ever, you can't have that. So there's a lot of little snags, and we all want to do the right thing. I think the biggest thing out there is just to have that second set of eyes, because you might not be conveying the message accurately that you want, and you might be tripping yourself up. So what are some of the things that you should look out for, Sarah, as far as language goes?
Yeah, so that's great. There's actually, let me just get through these slides here.
Oops, wrong button.
Yeah. So I would say that there are some pretty obvious landmine word and phrases to leave out, and I'm going to run through 6 of them that I actually do tend to see a lot in advisor marketing. Advisors are always calling themselves unique. Now, unless you're the Hope Diamond, right, it is very unlikely that you are actually unique in what you are doing. And I'm not saying that advisors do everything the same. In fact, many advisors tend to do things slightly differently, but that slight difference does not warrant uniqueness, okay? And the other thing is that it doesn't really say that much. It's not that descriptive. And here's where I'm saying that, first of all, compliance people hate this word unique, okay? Distinct, we have separated ourselves by. Many clients have appreciated, or many clients have found our process to be different from others in that, whatever it may be, okay? One of the earmarks of our service is that we have 5 of our principals came from a legal background, whatever it may be, okay? Say the thing, don't just say the claim, right? Because unique is very much a claim. And when you think about it, first of all, it's many times not true. And second of all, you know, it really is not saying that much at the end of the day, okay? Now, and the other thing is people like to talk about something being the best or at least better. Dang, compliance is just going to redline that like there's no tomorrow. Stay away from that. And the really important thing, though, is don't just not use those words, right? Don't talk about it being best or better. Talk about what it is that is driving this result. Again, give an example. In one instance, our client was doing something this way. When they came to us, we tried a different approach, and we found that these created results that served the client better. Served the client is a great way to show your commitment to clients. Instead of boosting up yourself, you're talking about how it actually created a different experience for people, and that is what they really care about. They don't care about you, they care about them. The other thing is that you can always say good or successful or suitable, all right? You don't have to superlatize it up, because keep in mind that people have heard it all from this industry. The more you kind of try to appear a little bit sensational, I just would not do that, because you're going to come across like, you know, that kind of like pushy annuity salesperson that is just extremely opinionated, or, you know, or whatever, right? Like, we all know there are these stereotypical advisors out there that have made these moves that have really tarnished the industry, have made them look bad. Win back trust by, I would say, almost understating the superlativeness of the words that you use. Keep it level, keep it grounded. But again, describe, be specific, and elaborate. So the other thing is, like, any kind of words like performed, unless we're talking about the Academy Awards, let's leave performance out of it. Newsflash, advisors, people don't care. I mean, they do care about performance, but you pointing to numbers as a reason to do work with you is not necessarily going to be enough, because keep in mind, there's always somebody out there that has a better performance.
Oh,
Yeah.
guaranteed. I've seen this from people coming from the insurance industry all the time. So, yeah, that's a big no-no right there.
Guarantee, right. There's just very little that is to be gained from using this word. And, you know, sometimes it may be applicable, but it is really a minority of instances. And it would be times when, for example, you are talking about a whole life policy and you've got that guaranteed crediting rate or something like that. That would probably be the only instance that I can think of where the word guarantee is actually suitable to use, okay? So just stay away from the word guarantee. And the same thing is the word will. You're painting yourself into a corner. Unless it is a tangible event that is concrete and is, you know, almost like a fact that this is going to take place, like, we will have this coffee event next week at 3 p.m. Fine. There's very little potential for variability there. Whenever you describe something, when you're setting up an expectation for the client, compliance is really going to hate that, okay? And I would just suggest using likely, or there's a probability, it is possible that, it is most possible that. Any kind of these kind of softer phrases are going to elevate your level of content by making it seem like you do understand that this may not exactly be the outcome all of the time. It's a little bit more humble way of expressing yourself than the word will, which is confident. Is it really that necessary, or is it really going to do that much for your marketing? Probably not. And then lastly, you must. You must. Does anyone have kids? How many times have you told them you must clean your room, right? I mean, maybe the first time you say that emphatically, it works, but I just think people are sick of being told what to do. I would suggest phrases like you could consider, you may wish to look at, you may wish to think about. Other options that have worked for people have been this or that, okay? I realize, you know, we want to have conviction, but compliance is really going to shut down a extremely emphatic kind of a word like that. And I just would think, again, a more humble approach is going to fall better on the client's ears. Anyways, so now that I've told you what to do, I'm going to tell you what is going to really work well, elevate that level of content, and really make things more engaging for the audience. So the first thing is use a picture, okay? You know, in the age of digital communication, we're seeing Twitter with, you know, however many characters, not that many, right? LinkedIn instant messaging, text messaging. Attention spans are shortening. The more that you can depict visually what you want to convey, the better. Now, I showed you some pictures earlier in the webinar with like the money tree or money falling from the sky on people. Compliance is not going to be open to something like that that is just extremely suggestive. But there's nothing to say that you can't use a really good infographic that just contains very accurate data. People love infographics. You know, I always talk about, instead of that cheesy, techie photo of like the couple on the beach sipping wine that is just such a cliche, but every advisor seems to want to have that on like every brochure and website and like everything that they do. Take that away, advisors. Get rid of that stock jargon, that stock photo stuff. Get it out of there and put a real, you know, genuine, authentic picture of you that is showing the environment that you're working in with your clients. I'm always telling advisors to do an office tour. There's some really, really innovative things that people are doing with their offices. Company meeting, assuming you're not talking about your investment recommendations. Have a company meeting. Show the rapport between your staff. You know, video that, okay? So I would just say depict things graphically or visually. Obviously, don't err on the side of suggestive or anything with dollar signs or money. But like I said, people don't want to see that anyways. Now, the other thing is stories really work great. Now, there's certain things you want to avoid with the story. You don't want the story to be a story about how someone was really in dire need of insurance and you sold them a UIL product, IUL, excuse me, and it saved their life, right? The hero story with you, you know, flying in to save the day is probably not going to, it's going to come across as a little bit, I would say, probably a little bit dull to the client, not really what they want to hear, but what they really would like to hear about is situations that people like them are in and how you help. So for example, extremely wealthy people, people that maybe came into wealth, didn't always have it, surrounded by people that don't know how wealthy they are, can't talk about their wealth with anybody. Wealth can be very isolating. If anyone knows ultra affluent people, I myself used to be an advisor before I had 3 kids in 3 years, literally, and lived to survive about it. But what I'm saying is that when I was an advisor, I just found that with my ultra wealthy clients, it was like the stigma of we can't talk about our money. And I mean, is that a healthy attitude to have? It's necessary because a lot of people are going to take advantage of them if they know. How do you talk? How do you get clients to open up? How do you get them to lead a more comfortable life once they do get to that point of absolute wealth, right? It's a stigma, the wealth stigma. No one ever talks about that. How about, you know, maybe a little very sensitive issues with women coming more into the accumulation of wealth and the mass of wealth and being more in control. How, you know, women out earning men. This can cause problems in a relationship. It is a documented fact. I can show you articles. Why are no advisors talking about the real issues here? Write a blog about it, right? How we were the sounding board for a woman who was very anxious and nervous about getting married to somebody that she was out earning, right? To talk about perspectives like that. These are little, not, you know, broad general ideas of there's your SEP IRA and this and that. Talk about business leadership. Talk about as the leader of a team of 20 people, right? You run a company. What was life like when you started your company? And what is it like now? What have you learned as a leader? What have you learned as a business person? How can other business people take that as an example? Okay, so these are all things that are really interesting and engaging and are just so far away from the gray area. I mean, you are so clearly in the safe zone here. You're not even in that gray area of compliance having anything to say about, you know, your top 10 tips for how to motivate millennial staff, right? Compliance is going to have nothing to say about that. We did a blog, me and one of my clients, about it, fashion tips for business people, right? Fashion tips for attorneys, who knows, right? Somehow related back to finance. Things that you do that you volunteer with, right? Like, psychological mindsets people have towards philanthropy. Get away from the jargon and the tired old content. Strike out. The more creative you are, you will find, okay, and the more visual, you will find that the less compliance has to say. And by the way, call, weigh in on this. Wouldn't you say that the more engaging the content is for the compliance person, that probably that's going to make them kind of want to get your stuff through compliance faster?
Yes, totally. The reason why you want to have that engagement is to be able to convey that story, to be able to put out your message, and doing that circumvents anything that might be promissory or like using the word guarantee or having to put out
you'll be talking about nothing close to it, right? And like what I'm saying is, as the reader, right, wouldn't you agree that you're so much more willing to get the content through with less hassle if it's actually something that you find interesting?
Yes, of course. Tell that story. You don't have to sit there and put your, you don't have to sit there and pat yourself on the back and say we're the greatest at this and we're going to focus on that. People want to empathize, and that's kind of what I use as far as what's good is picking out a compliance consultant.
Right, same thing when you're looking for one. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the times, I've sat there and been in offices here and there, all across the country. And I've heard from several different people, and with former consultants, and I've worked for different companies, and they just don't build up that rapport with the clients. They don't build up the rapport with their eyes.
That's because they're scared of the compliance officer many times.
Right, and they should. We're on the same side of the table because nobody wants to do anything wrong. Everybody wants to follow the book, but as the consultant listening to your problems, these are general type of things that IAs have to do with their clients. Are they listening to the issues? Are they coming up with customized practical solutions for your organization? I've walked into countless offices where the compliance manual had nothing to do with the business. I've even walked into several businesses that would have the wrong names in their compliance manual. It just doesn't make any sense. And another thing is that we're here to build confidence. We're not here to scare you. A lot of things out there. A lot of people worry about a lot of things, and there's some simple solutions that can solve any compliance issues. A simple overview, getting that second set of eyes on the advertisement. There's a lot of little different things, but that being said, you get a professional, and same way with a ghostwriter. What would be the some of the things that you would look for as far as somebody coming up with writing advertising for you?
Thanks, Colin. So I just would say that if you're looking for someone to write either a brochure or some website content, whatever it may be, I think the best way to go is with, this sounds so obvious, but with someone that actually has written financial materials before. A lot of writers will say that they've written financial content, but ask them for samples. Don't just take their word for it, because, finance is very broad, and maybe someone's written for insurance and they don't quite understand the differentiation, right, between what you do and what an insurance agent does. But I do see an awful lot of copy that's written by firms that really don't have a very in-depth knowledge of finance, and that's where you're going to get really into a lot of these problems, okay? So that's the first thing, is have it be a financial ghostwriter. The second thing is, within even that, I would say try to go for someone that has experience writing for FINRA firms, because Colin, like you were saying early in the webinar, FINRA is a little bit more stringent. There's a mandatory audit every year. These people know that FINRA is really going to be on their radar screen. So they, you know, a lot of times the writing is a lot more compliance conservative, I would say, and there's a lot less that FINRA reps and FINRA firms will let fly than the average RIA firm. Now, that's a general statement, but I can tell you that I don't think I've ever seen a FINRA broker-dealer firm that doesn't have a compliance officer. In fact, a lot of times they have them in-house, and in addition, they have external compliance as well. Whereas in many cases, I have seen some people that are RIA firms and they don't have any external compliance at all. So, you know, and RIA firms can kind of get away with that, at least for now, because there's no mandatory audit in many cases, and they can fly kind of under the radar screen and not get picked up. So, you know, do understand that someone might say, oh, I've done a lot of financial writing. What kind of firms have they written for?
Well, that point right there is kind of scary, though, on the IA side, is that a lot of times they don't know that they're producing fraudulent advertisement until the regulator gets the complaint from a former client and all of a sudden knocks on your door without any warning.
The former client, yes.
Yeah, and they start opening up your file cabinets, browsing through your computer and everything, and there's really nothing you can do about it. So, but that's the scary thing on the IA side.
Scare tactics you're using now. Yeah. Okay. Everybody, you said not to do that. Okay. So everybody, I just want to go over some of the questions that I'm seeing coming in. Everybody, please go ahead, enter them into group chat. We've got 3 minutes left on the webinar. If people can stay for longer, we'd be psyched. If you got to go, thank you so much for having us. The slides will be available for the attendees. We'll be putting these, you know, mailing these out to everybody that was on the call. So expect that email. And if, you know, if our emails are going to spam, kind of please make sure that they're not, because we'd love to be in touch. And the recording will also be available with the slides. Questions? Enter them in.
So I have a question. What type of trends do you see people going to as far as approaching their advertisement? What different methods of media that seem to be getting popular nowadays?
Well, you know, I would be very remiss if I didn't say that I'm seeing more and more advisors get onto social media. Although what I am always encouraging them to do is to use Messenger to build up the network, and through, you know, by just getting as many contacts onto your network as you can. And then using Messenger function to communicate with them on an individual basis. I think that really, I think, Terry, thank you for your wonderful comment, and thank you for reading my articles. I hope we're connected on LinkedIn. Okay, anyways, let me just, so what I'm just saying is if you're on social media, awesome, but just understand, advisors, that social media is not just for, posting content, you know, and there's a lot of like really good things you can do for people that kind of will turn their heads. Like, do you know how much free information is available through just looking at somebody's LinkedIn profile? You can see what they've been liking, what they've been posting, who they're connected with, where they work, how long they've worked there. I mean, I remember when I was an intern at Fidelity Investments, and it was right at my first job right out of college, and I remember showing up the first day, like, I knew my boss's name was Julie, but that was like about it. I mean, you understand that now you can know like literally what these people like to eat for lunch. It is unbelievable the kinds of things that people are putting out there on Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta, I mean, everything. So advisors, don't always think of social media as this whole thing where, oh, great, now I have to go through compliance and I got to do this whole thing. It's like, it is a information goldmine. The data you can get from social media, just on that alone, if you never post one single word, get on LinkedIn and you can make money just by gathering information about the people you want to be talking to. So I have a question here. Do you have a list of ghostwriters you can refer to? Yes, just email me. I'll email them to you afterwards. We're very happy to do that. Send me an email. Here, I'm going to type my email in here and just, you know, send me a request. Everybody that wants a list of ghostwriters, send me an email there and I'll help you out. So this is a question. How do you feel about we provide customer service? We provide superior customer service as far as how the regulators will feel about it. Okay, regulator, what do you feel about that statement? We provide superior customer service.
Well, I mean, the regulators aren't out there for that. They're basically there to make sure that you're capturing all the required information, that you're maintaining your books and records. Providing a good service is great, and that comes part and parcel of maintaining that information. So,
yeah, from a compliance standpoint, but I mean, how can someone prove if someone says we provide superior customer service? I mean, regulator, how can they prove that, right?
Yeah. That's a yeah. They can't really prove that. That's
one of those superlatives. I would stay away from it. I mean, the question here is to the person that asked it. I would just say, we provide I mean, like every advisor in the world is going to say that. I mean, I don't mean to burst anybody's bubble here, right? But like, they all say that. We are extremely client focused. We put the client first. We put the client's best interest first. We are fiduciaries. Even if people aren't total even the non-pure fiduciaries, even the blended, the hybrids, right? Nothing wrong with being a hybrid, but they're not necessarily a fiduciary all the time, but even they're calling themselves fiduciaries all the time. It like just totally goes with the territory, right? That's what people, that is their claim to fame. That is the tagline that all advisors say. We have the best customer service out there, because they know that a lot of advisors are offering the same thing. We outsource to DFA. Great. We outsource to Vanguard. Great. We use Riskalyze. Right. We use Hidden Ladders for your risk assessment. Right. Okay. So I would say that what you really got to do is you've got to get into why, right? Talk about things clients have experienced in the past that they've appreciated. We had a widow come to us. She was scared out of her mind. All her kids were telling her to do one thing. We told her to do the opposite. She appreciated that so much. We had someone that was about to sell a business, and we found out that their valuation was off and they just weren't even using the right process for it. This is the kind of diligence that we exercise because we, in fact, have gone through the process ourselves of selling our own business before. You see what I'm saying? Like, get into the why, not just the what, because people don't care. It's what you say in like a statement like that. It's not only, this is what I mean by being right there in that gray area, right? Compliance is probably going to rip that apart. Blow that out of the water. Turn their heads. Shock and amaze them with something that is outstanding, that justifies that superior quality without using the word superior.
Right. That you're striving to be superior, and why. So,
All right. What else do we have?
We have, are there any companies you'd recommend for compliance consulting for an SEC registered RIA firm? I guess I will send you my email address, CS, and we can go from there.
Yeah, there's a lot of options out there, and keep in mind that compliance doesn't have to be this whole, everyone looks at it kind of like as a sunk cost, right? Carl, tell me about like what would be the cost potentially of like in legal fees for like one of these violations, I think this is the thing that advisors aren't necessarily reined in about. Can you give me a ballpark? No guaranteeing statements here, Colin.
It's basically all over the place. It's how many people were affected, how egregious was the violation. The biggest thing from being a regulator is that if I notice something that, some advertisement that might be misleading or incorrectly worded, one of my things that I used to look at when I came in to do an examination, I first look at the disclosures to see if the disclosures would pertain to the firm or to the advertisement. And if they didn't, I picked up right off the bat, they didn't have an approval system for that.
Did you hear that, advisors? They look to see if there are disclosures. Make a note. Make a note. See, this is valuable. Okay, tweetable. Tweet
Disclosures
that.
are accurate. I've walked in and seen advertisement where, you know, they're talking on the disclosure. They're talking about real estate investment trusts, and I'm going, you guys invest in real. I don't see anything that establishes anything to do with a real estate investment trust. Why do you have this disclosure here? And that picked it up with that. That makes me dig more. That goes
digging. You want them digging.
Let's look at everything right now, and we're going to be here for a while. And as far as fines, it's usually kind of tacked onto other different things, and they could be all over the place, from a couple of thousand to 50 to 70 to 100,000. There's several different things. And when it comes down to it, some of the exams I've done have gone anywhere from just a couple of $1,000s to my biggest case. The fine was a major firm that was over 29 million. So it really is. It's kind of a huge.
Where's the E&O insurance when you need it, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Holy smoky pokey. Okay. So it's 1:07 p.m. now. We've still got people on the line here. We've got 30 people. I'm assuming you're hanging out for a reason, advisors. So come on, fire them at me. Anything. What's my favorite color? Purple. You can guess it from my website if you've been to my website, right? Okay. Only 28, 27. Now people are dropping off that I said that. Oh, I feel so unloved. Okay. Come on, folks. That is.
Well.
The silence. Oh, Sarah email. People are asking me for my email, grilloinvest@gmail.com. But you can message me through LinkedIn, by the way. Who here is on LinkedIn? Who here has questions about LinkedIn? Anybody?
I accidentally did a typo on that first. There's only 2 L's in my name, not 3.
Oh, Colin. Come on. This is second grade stuff here, bud.
I need a ghostwriter for my email.
You do. Right. Okay. We'll hang on on the line here. So let's see. So a lot of times people ask me, what is the cost of a ghostwriter? If you want one that knows what they're doing, it depends. Some will work on an hourly basis. Some will work on a flat fee basis. I find that flat fee is probably the best way to go when you're working with the ghostwriter, because these revisions can get very involved, and it does, I think, work out probably in the better interest of the client when there's a flat fee. Okay, so this is a question from Phil. I've heard and read conflicting opinions on making LinkedIn endorsements public. What is your opinion? I think LinkedIn endorsements are kind of, Phil, don't get offended here, but you know me, I call it as I see it. I think it's kind of like a cyber waste. I just feel like it's not something that people really take that seriously. Again, it's not clear like what the source is. You know what I'm saying? I mean, is this like, is this like the Rockefeller sitting here saying you're a great advisor, or is it, your best friend from kindergarten that would say anything good about you, right? And it's just vague, like LinkedIn endorsements. I'm assuming you mean endorsing you for skills. There's 2 ways that you can get kind of acknowledged on LinkedIn in a testimonial-like way. One is endorsements, where someone says, this person is great at these skills, like asset allocation, financial modeling.
Sarah?
Yeah.
Sarah, as far as endorsements go, that's kind of viewed as a testimonial. Having an endorsement on your private page that has nothing to do with the advisory, that would be okay. But if you have a LinkedIn page for your business, you should probably shut that down.
You mean an endorsement on your LinkedIn page?
Yeah.
Right. Don't shut the LinkedIn page down, for goodness sake. Shut the endorsement down. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is in addition to I mean, you heard Colin's perspective. From a client's perspective, this is a no-no, but just even from like a marketing perspective, it's kind of like, I don't mean to burst your bubble here, but you know me, I'm a bubble burster. Who cares, right? Like, it's just someone saying, like, giving you like a clap or a thumbs up. That's really, it's a like. It's like when people like your posting, it's like, oh, great, you know?
Yeah, that goes the same for Facebook too. So
Yeah, not really as meaningful.
just turn it off.
Yeah, I would just turn it off, you know?
So,
Yeah.
So are there any other questions? Well, I think it's about time we should wrap this up.
Final call. I'm going to count to 3. Ready? See, I told you I had kids. I do this all the time. Get those mittens on. 1, 2,
2, 3.
3. Okay, it's over. So everybody, listen, we're going to email out the presentation, the slides, and also the audio. You can access it. But, you know, connect with us. Let's stay in touch for sure. And, you know, remember that we're always giving out these kind of presentations, you know, RA Compliance Concepts. Thank you so much. Great partners for me to work with. And we do actually do these kind of webinars all the time. So, and have, you know, many that we're planning to do together in the future. So just please kind of stay connected with us on LinkedIn. I am Sarah Grillo, CFA. You can just find, I think I'm probably the only Sarah Grillo CFA out there on LinkedIn. So you can please go to my website, connect with me on LinkedIn. Really want to help. You know, I'm always blogging on advisor perspectives. I've actually got a video on demand series coming out that you probably want to, you know, tap into, just even like being notified about. Just get on my email list to get notified about that. It's going to be banging. It's really going to make, it's designed to like basically break the industry. That is my goal, to break the industry with this video on demand